There is a moment in life when we realize that pressing forward isn't always the answer. We're told to keep pushing, keep hustling, keep grinding. The world glorifies movement, fast, relentless, and unceasing. But what if the way forward isn't about pushing harder? What if real progress requires stepping back, taking a pause, disappearing from the noise, and allowing ourselves the space to breathe? It feels counterintuitive in a culture that equates busyness with worthiness. But wisdom tells us that retreat is often the beginning of transformation. Stepping back is not quitting. It's not giving up or losing ground. It's an intentional act of self-awareness, a decision to pull away from the chaos so we can return with greater clarity and strength. Think of an archer pulling back an arrow. Before it launches forward with precision and power, it must first be drawn back. The same principle applies to us. Sometimes stepping back is the very thing that allows us to launch toward our true purpose. But let's be honest, stepping back is terrifying. We fear what people will say, how they will perceive our absence. We wonder if we'll be forgotten, if opportunities will slip away, if life will move on without us. The truth is, people will talk, opportunities may shift, and the world will keep spinning. But what's the alternative? To stay in a cycle of exhaustion, running on empty, showing up half-heartedly for a life that doesn't even feel like our own? No, stepping back is not the risk. The real risk is staying stuck in a life that no longer fits. Stepping back is an act of courage. It means tuning out external expectations and listening to the still, small voice within us. It means having the audacity to say, I need a moment. I need space. I need to recalibrate. It's choosing to trust that in the stillness, something sacred happens. We reconnect with ourselves. We remember why we started. We make space for creativity, for rest, for healing. And in that space, transformation begins. Every great comeback story includes a season of retreat. Look at nature. Winter is not a sign of death, but a necessary pause before spring bursts forth with life. Even the tides know when to pull back before surging forward. The same is true for us. We are not meant to be in a constant state of output. We are wired for rhythms, times of growth, and times of stillness. When we deny ourselves the latter, we burn out, break down, and lose sight of what truly matters. Stepping back requires trust. Trust that the world won't fall apart in our absence. Trust that we are not defined by our productivity. Trust that our worth isn't measured by how much we do, but by who we are. And most importantly, trust that when the time is right, we will return stronger, clearer, and more prepared for the road ahead. So if you feel the pull to step back, honor it. It may feel uncomfortable. It may require setting boundaries that others don't understand, but remember, this is your life. You are the steward of your energy, your dreams, and your well-being. If stepping back is what your soul needs, then it's not just okay, it's necessary. Because in the end, stepping back isn't about retreating from life. It's about returning to it with more intention, more purpose, and more of the courage it takes to move forward in the direction that was meant for you all along. We live in a world that worships movement. We are told that success is found in hustle, in grinding, and constantly doing more. If we're not running toward the next goal, the next opportunity, or the next milestone, we feel like we're falling behind. But what if the most powerful thing we could do wasn't to run harder, but to stop, to be still? The idea seems foreign, even irresponsible, yet stillness holds a power that movement never can. In the quiet, we don't just rest, we reset. In the stillness, we don't just pause, we see with new eyes. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It is an active choice to quiet the noise, to step away from the distractions, and to create space for something deeper. When we embrace stillness, we allow ourselves to truly listen to our own hearts, to the whispers of wisdom that get drowned out in the chaos, and to the truth that often gets buried under the weight of our busyness. In stillness, we remember what actually matters, not just what feels urgent. But let's be real, being still is hard. We have been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to our productivity. We fear that if we stop, the world will pass us by, that we will fall behind, that we will become irrelevant. And yet, some of the most profound breakthroughs in life happen not when we are rushing, but when we are resting. Creativity is born in stillness. Healing takes root in stillness. Strength is renewed in stillness. Think of the ocean. When the waters are stirred and turbulent, we can't see what lies beneath. But when the waters are calm, everything becomes clear. The same is true for us. When our minds are constantly racing, when our schedules are overflowing, we can't see what's beneath the surface, our true desires, our deepest longings, the wounds that need healing, the wisdom waiting to be discovered. It's only in the stillness that the murky waters settle and we gain the clarity we've been searching for. Stillness is also an act of trust. It's trusting that we don't have to force everything into place, that not everything is ours to control. Sometimes we think that if we stop, everything will fall apart. But what if things are actually falling into place while we rest? What if our constant striving is actually getting in the way of what's meant for us? When we allow ourselves to be still, we give space for grace to move, for unseen forces to work on our behalf, for life to unfold in ways we could never orchestrate on our own. But stillness doesn't just happen. We have to create it. We have to protect it. It may look like carving out quiet mornings before the world wakes up. It may be taking a walk without a podcast playing in our ears. It may be saying no to another commitment so we can have an evening of solitude. It may be letting ourselves just sit without checking our phones, without filling the silence, without feeling the need to do something. Stillness is a discipline, and like any discipline, it takes practice. And here's the beautiful part. When we embrace stillness, we don't just become calmer, we become stronger. We become more grounded, more intentional, more present. We stop reacting and start responding. We stop chasing and start attracting. We stop running in circles and start moving forward with clarity and conviction. Stillness doesn't weaken us, it empowers us. So if life feels loud, if your soul feels restless, if you've been running on empty, maybe the answer isn't to push harder. Maybe it's time to stop, to be still, to listen. Because in the quiet, you will find what you've been looking for all along. From the moment we are born, the world starts telling us who we should be. We are given labels, expectations, and roles to play. We learn early what earns approval and what leads to rejection. Over time, we shape ourselves to fit into molds that were never meant for us, carrying identities that feel foreign yet familiar because we've worn them for so long. But at some point, we must ask ourselves, who am I really? And perhaps more importantly, who am I not? Letting go of who we're not is one of the hardest yet most necessary journeys we will ever take. It requires stripping away the layers of expectations, the personas we've adopted, and the stories we've been told about ourselves that no longer serve us. It is the process of unbecoming, peeling back everything that is not truly us so we can finally stand in the truth of who we were meant to be. This kind of shedding is uncomfortable because it means releasing parts of ourselves that once felt safe, even if they were suffocating us. We cling to these false versions of ourselves because they have given us something: acceptance, validation, a sense of belonging. Maybe we've been the people pleaser, always saying yes, always making sure everyone else is happy, even if it comes at the expense of our own well-being. Maybe we've been the overachiever, believing that our worth is tied to our accomplishments, afraid that if we stop proving ourselves, we will be nothing. Or maybe we've been the strong one, the one who never breaks, never shows weakness, even when we're crumbling inside. But here's the truth. These identities may have served us for a time, but they were never who we truly are. We are not just what we do. We are not just what we give to others. We are not just the roles we have played to make people love us. And the longer we hold on to who we are not, the further we get from who we are. The longer we wear a mask, the harder it becomes to recognize ourselves underneath it. Letting go is scary because it means stepping into the unknown. If I'm not the overachiever, then who am I? If I stop people pleasing, will I still be loved? If I allow myself to be vulnerable, will I still be strong? These are the questions that arise when we begin to shed what is false. But on the other side of this fear is freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when we no longer have to perform, when we no longer have to prove ourselves, when we are finally able to rest in the truth of our own worth. The process of letting go isn't about erasing everything we've been. It's about keeping what is true and releasing what is not. It's about honoring the parts of ourselves that are real and authentic while gently laying down the parts we've outgrown. And it's not a one-time event. It's a lifelong practice. We will constantly be unlearning, redefining, and rediscovering who we are at our core. And here's a beautiful thing. When we release what is false, we make room for what is real. We begin to attract relationships that honor our true selves, not just the version of us that pleases others. We step into opportunities that align with our deepest values, not just the ones that make us look successful on the surface. We create a life that feels fulfilling, not because it impresses others, but because it fits us. So if you feel like you're losing yourself in all the expectations, if you feel weighed down by the roles you've been playing, maybe it's time to start letting go. Maybe it's time to strip away the layers, to set down the masks, to stop carrying identities that were never truly yours. Because who you are is enough. Who you are is worthy. And who you are, without the need to prove, perform, or pretend, is exactly who you are always meant to be. For so long, many of us have been taught that setting boundaries is selfish. We worry that saying no will make us unkind, unhelpful, or even unlovable. We believe that if we give more of ourselves, more time, more energy, more attention, then we will be seen as good, worthy, and valuable. But the truth is, a life without boundaries is not a life of love. It's a life of exhaustion. Boundaries are not barriers that keep people out. They are the sacred lines that protect our peace, our energy, and our well-being. A boundary is simply a clear definition of what is and isn't okay. It's the invisible but powerful way we teach others how to treat us. Without boundaries, we allow ourselves to be stretched too thin, saying yes when we want to say no, tolerating behavior that drains us, and constantly giving from a well that is running dry. But when we set healthy boundaries, we are not shutting people out. We are showing up in a way that is sustainable, honest, and rooted in self-respect. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they are walls, thick, impenetrable defenses meant to keep people away. But boundaries are not walls, they are gates. They allow the right things in and keep the wrong things out. They help us discern what nourishes us and what depletes us. When we set a boundary, we are not rejecting love, we are creating space for healthier, more meaningful connections. But setting boundaries is hard. It requires us to have difficult conversations. It forces us to disappoint people who are used to having unlimited access to us. It may even mean losing relationships with those who only valued us when we had no limits, and that is painful. But what's even more painful is living a life where we are constantly overextended, resentful, and disconnected from ourselves because we never had the courage to say, this is not okay. Boundaries are not just about protecting ourselves from others, they are also about protecting our dreams, our goals, and our personal growth. When we say yes to everything, we say no to ourselves. We say no to rest, to creativity, to deep work, to the things that truly matter to us. A life without boundaries leads to burnout, and burnout steals the joy from even the things we once loved. But when we have the courage to draw a line, to say, this is my time, this is my energy, this is what I will and won't accept, we reclaim ownership of our lives. It's important to remember that boundaries are not meant to control others, they are meant to guide us. We cannot force someone to respect our boundaries, but we can decide how we respond when they don't. We can choose to step away from relationships that do not honor our limits. We can choose to enforce consequences when our boundaries are repeatedly crossed. And we can choose to stand firm in the knowledge that we are not responsible for how others react to our self-respect. And here's the most powerful truth about boundaries: the people who truly love us will honor them. Real love does not demand that we sacrifice ourselves. Real love respects our needs, our limits, and our well-being. If someone is offended by our boundaries, it is not a reflection of our unkindness. It is a reflection of their expectation that we should always be available at our own expense. But we were never meant to live at the mercy of other people's needs. We were meant to love, to serve, and to give, but from a place of wholeness, not depletion. So if you struggle with setting boundaries, if you feel guilty for saying no, if you fear that you will lose people when you stand up for yourself, remember this: boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the foundation of healthy relationships, personal freedom, and a life that feels like your own. And when you honor your own limits, you teach the world how to honor you. There comes a time when we must step away, step back from the noise, the expectations, and even from the roles we've outgrown. Disappearing for a season isn't about giving up. It's about gathering ourselves, finding clarity, and doing the deep inner work that can't happen when we're caught in the rush of everyday life. But at some point, after the stillness, after the shedding of what no longer serves us, we must return, and not just return, we must reappear with purpose. Reappearing isn't about going back to the way things were. It's about stepping forward into something new, something more aligned, something that reflects the lessons we've learned in the quiet. When we've taken time to reset, we don't re-enter life the same way we left it. We return with clearer boundaries, deeper self-awareness, and a renewed sense of what truly matters. The challenge isn't just in disappearing. The real challenge is in coming back differently when the world expects us to be the same. One of the biggest fears we face when reappearing is whether or not we'll be accepted in our new form. People grow comfortable with the versions of us that serve them, whether that's the always available version, the people-pleasing version, or the overachieving version. When we reappear with purpose, with a stronger sense of self, it disrupts the expectations others have placed on us. Some will embrace our growth, but others may resist it. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to come with us into the next season. Reappearing with purpose also means we must move with intention. It's tempting to return to old patterns, to slip back into the familiar rhythms that once kept us stuck. But we didn't do all that inner work just to fall back into the same cycles. We return not to prove anything to the world, but to walk in the truth of what we've learned. It means choosing relationships that honor our growth, opportunities that align with our values, and a way of living that feels authentic rather than performative. There's a misconception that purpose is something grand and external, some big achievement or a moment of recognition. But purpose isn't always loud. Sometimes it's simply the quiet knowing that we are living in alignment with who we truly are. It's making decisions that reflect our deepest truths. It's showing up in a way that honors the work we've done on ourselves. Purpose isn't about doing more. It's about being more present, more intentional, more at peace with the path we've chosen. And let's be honest, reappearing with purpose takes courage. It takes courage to show up differently when people expect us to be the same. It takes courage to protect our newfound clarity and not let the world's demands pull us back into chaos. It takes courage to trust that the time we took to step away wasn't wasted, that it was preparing us for something greater. And most of all, it takes courage to believe that we are worthy of a life that feels fulfilling, not just impressive. The beauty of reappearing with purpose is that it allows us to move through life with confidence. Not the kind of confidence that comes from external validation, but the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who we are and what we stand for. When we return after a season of growth, we don't need to explain ourselves. We don't need to seek approval. We simply need to walk forward, knowing that the right people, the right opportunities, and the right experiences will meet us where we are. So if you've been in a season of retreat, if you've taken time to heal, to reflect, to reset, know that when you reappear, you do not need to be the same. You are allowed to be different. You are allowed to come back stronger, wiser, clearer. You are allowed to set boundaries, to move differently, to show up in a way that honors your growth, because this time you're not just reappearing, you're reappearing with purpose.